Hello everybody, welcome once again to Hole in the Wall Productions. I'm Gabe and this is Noah. So today, out of interest, we're going to be talking about the basic making of Watching Eyes.
Let's start with how we did the inside car lighting from the very beginning of the film.
So basically, the trick was that the two shots without the driver in them at the beginning was, once again, Noah's dad, which we once again thank him for. And then we cut to me inside the car, and then we put a LED light, I believe, on the dashboard or behind the wheel.
It's like it's in the instrument panel pretty much. Sadly, my instrument panel is actually very small, so we actually had to put it in front of the instrument panel. So actually, in the beginning of the shot, I had to crop the image because you could see the lining of the instrument panel, which sadly I didn't notice, but editing is fun that way.
And then, of course, Noah was outside the car, just following me, and that's basically the whole entire way we did. And another thing that might be interesting is the long take of the conversation between our two main characters. Originally, we weren't going to have it be that way, but because this was a Halloween episode, I just thought, why not, pay homage to Halloween and have it be long shot. I think in the end that worked out pretty well. I mean, it wasn't as good as the opening of Halloween, of course, but I think it was a nice little homage.
I think people who really look at editing and people who who watch internet content and watch short films on the internet to learn things and to look at how other people make videos might have very well noticed it. Although, sadly, our audience, at least at the time of this recording, is probably too small for very many of those kinds of people to actually have watched it. Moving on is the first villain shot from outside. This is all that guy's thing, and the same thing goes for the one-shot conversation. I was thinking of just moving on to the next scene where he pointed out, wait, maybe we should introduce the villain here, which ended up working out very, very well. So we went outside. We, again, used the LED light. We just put it off to the side, shined it on my face, and we got what looked like a pretty cool shot to me and to him. And, of course, again, it very much looks like a shot you may very well have seen in the original Halloween movies.
It feels like I've seen that kind of shot from somewhere. I just can't remember where. And I always imagined I always thought I remembered a shot of, the camera zooming out as the Halloween music played, and then we saw Michael Myers, but that could just be my imagination. So hopefully I did not steal from Halloween.
Well, even if we did steal from Halloween, it's the whole homage thing.
Yeah, it's homage. We're not stealing, it's an homage.
The next note is that there was actually something that in editing we noticed that we actually should have done. The original idea was that when Mike, the character of Mike, was getting the DVDs, when he moves out of the way, there was supposed to be the killer in the background. We ended up scrapping that because that would mean that the killer somehow got in the house. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. And, of course, him and I both wrote actually separate scripts, and we decided to go with mine for any number of small reasons.
The biggest one is that his was better.
And one thing that I noticed is that pretty much we should have had the killer sort of like looking into the window and then walking away after Mike got the DVDs out. There's a window in the background. I'm pretty sure I should have pulled the shades out and done that. That was just sort of an editor's note that I wish I did. So it's just one of those many things that you want to do, but you don't have the ability to reshoot it.
It's kind of like that zing that you want to make to that guy after, the argument is done.
You screw up sometimes, and then later on you finally figure out the proper way to do it.
The next thing that might be a little noteworthy is the stabbing through the mattress. Of course, originally the actor was not actually stabbed in that first shot. When he fell over, Noah was using a real knife, but he closed it right before he actually stabbed through, and of course we cut away, and that's basically all that is. Originally we just wanted to stab the actor, but apparently we couldn't do that because of legal issues.
Yeah, we didn't get a release form. Outdoor lighting. LED panel up on a light stand. We just
on
sort
a
of
stick.
Yeah.
LED on a stick.
Either way, what ended up happening was just I gave Jake, who had showed up by then, I handed him the LED light up on a light stand that I'd still collapsed down. I told him just track with him as we were running. And that was pretty much the only lighting we used. Of course, every once in a while we got some spill lighting from the windows, which would hit one side of his face. But for the majority, it was just the LED light. Pretty much the biggest amount of light we ever got was that during the POV shot, there was a window, and that actually hit the rim of me, which actually looked quite nice. But in general, that was pretty much it. And actually, that gives us a segue to our next part, the POV shots.
Which is entirely Noah's own doing, and I think it's probably the best shot in the film. We mixed with the camera to make it look like, a groggy POV. Jake was right there just like walking up as Noah did this.
It looks funny. It's just, I'm doing like that. I'm just sort of like, I'm trying to pretend like I'm carrying something. And actually, I think it actually does look quite realistic because you can't see what I'm actually holding on to. And for those who really want to know a step-by-step way of changing this, you need to find the shutter speed controls on your camera and turn the number down. What this ends up doing is it adds more motion blur to the shot. The higher the number, it's like 1 over number. The higher the number, the darker your image and the less blur, and then the lower the number, the more bright your image gets and the more blur. So what we did is that we turned it down to the specific number is 1/12 of a second, or 1 over 12, and then we just had Jake sort of shake the camera as I moved him, and that was pretty much it.
The times shaky cam really works.
For once.
But it was not an action scene, Batman Begins. We did not use it in an action scene. So take that into note.
I'm looking at you too, Battle Los Angeles.
But, that was by far, I think, the best and most creative shot in the movie. I think the best moment was, when you just looked into the camera and reeled back and punched it.
That I really liked. That was actually figured out on set. I didn't think of that beforehand, but I'm very happy that I did figure it out on set. Another shot that him and I were thinking about, and we ended up going through with it, we were doing tests in the shed, and we ended up going with that POV, that 30-second POV shot going up from the foot all the way up to the killer. I'm actually very happy with that shot. I'm pretty sure if I hadn't been there filming it and hadn't seen it a million times during editing, if I actually watched that film the first time, I'm pretty sure I actually would have felt a little intensified by that, because it's such a long take and all you see is a shadow moving around and clunking sounds.
Of course, POV in the eyes of the victim can be a great tool for suspense. And not that many people do that anymore, of course. People just decide to do a POV from a killer, which is one of the most overused ideas in horror movies nowadays.
Seriously, they did it in the original Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
It's been 30 years, people. Cut it out. Next note, the lighting we used in the shed and the very specific trick we used to get the look that we did.
Fog!
Yes, there's actually a lot of fog in there. The raw footage looks hideous and is full of fog. Thankfully, with a bit of a color grading, just moving the colors back and forth and messing with the brightness and contrast, it ended up looking pretty dang good, and generally, I think it is a genuinely spooky looking place with the color correction used.
And this was Noah's shed, which is what we used in High Tension. In High Tension, it wasn't scary, and that just shows you how much fog and some lighting can make something look so much more intense.
Here, let's right here we'll show you a shot of, let's say, Arthur. Show you a shot from the same person now being the victim. The basic lighting that we used in the first one was actually just the overhead lamp, which was High Tension. It was just the overhead lamp. That was it. In Watching Eyes, we used a lot of lights, actually. We had one overhead lamp. I switched out the bulb with a slightly more powerful bulb to give it a bit more kick. And I also put it off to the side to cast shadows across one side of his face. I think it's the right side. Also, I put, much like right here, I put a blue light on the shelf. You can actually see the light fixture itself. I wasn't actually trying to hide it because, there's lighting in the shed anyway.
Also, there was a huge light on, I think it was the other end of the shed.
The exact other end of the shed, because it's sort of like, it's in this weird kind of shape.
It's kind of like an L.
Yeah, it's like an L shape. So we're over here. So there's Henry. That's actually the character's name, if you didn't know. There's Henry. Here's the killer, and then way up here, here's like the door, and way up here is the light that was beaming down. You can see it. You can sort of see like the shadow in the fog of Mike when he shows up. You can sort of see him and how the light rays are getting blocked.
We didn't initially intend for that kind of shadow, but I think it turned out to be very good.
Especially one really cool kind of shadow was when the killer was leaving the shed and was silhouetted by the harsh light. That was really cool. He actually wanted to do that generally as one of the things, but sadly we couldn't put a light in we couldn't put the light in a place where we could actually get that effect. But thankfully, we were able to get it in the end with the leaving shot.
Yeah, and so technical wise, that's about all there is. Other stuff is talking about just how it was shooting in like the difficulty and easiness. Overall, I suppose it was okay. I mean,
for the first about 3 hours, everything was moving quite smoothly. Of course, we were still moving lights and getting it out of the box and stuff. We were getting everything set up. So at one point, I'd set up like one light. All right, we're gonna use this one light, and then I changed to another shot. Okay, never mind. Let me go upstairs, grab the other 3 lights, and set that up. So I was still getting stuff out, and I was still setting things up. But after the 3-hour mark, things started slowing down. People started getting sleepy because, of course, this was shot at night. Certain people started getting aggravated, and generally things started slowing down a little bit, especially because Jake showed up, so we had to say hello and everything. And thankfully, he actually helped a lot with the shoot afterwards. When he came up, we gave him a job. In general, the difficulty was more the 4th and 5th hour. The 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 6th hour of shooting actually went quite smoothly. And yes, it was a 6-hour, one-night shoot to do all of Watching Eyes, for those of you who are wondering. Inspiration for directing.
I guess, as you probably already tell, I was thinking mostly of Halloween while shooting this, because Halloween is, as everybody knows, one of the greats, and I didn't want to rip Halloween off, but I wanted to kind of take what, you know, John Carpenter's technique on it and try and redo it onto this story, especially with that bluish tint, because blue is really cool, as it turns out.
Yes, look back there. What we wanted to accomplish with the film.
We wanted to kind of make just a pure horror film for Halloween. We wanted to be seasonal.
Yeah, I finally wanted to get something seasonal out and be relevant to the time, and I think it came out pretty well. Of course, I don't think it's an exactly scary film, but I do think it's more of a thriller than it is a horror film, which I think works.
And I think there are very few movies nowadays that actually scare you. I mean, I haven't seen the Paranormal Activity movies, so I don't know how scary they were. The only movie in the last decade that actually scared me was a French movie called Them, and if you haven't seen that, and if you like being scared, I suggest you go check that out.
Recommended even by me, and I'm apparently a very big horror snob, which is kind of cool to be known as. Either way, moving along. This film, in comparison to our other work, good. I think it is actually better than a good chunk of our other work. It is, it's better than stuff like Suburban Warfare, Riders.
High Tension.
Yes, it's especially better than High Tension. One thing about High Tension was that was actually not exactly a troubled shoot, but the end product is a decent film that ends up getting bogged down by all the little things that we didn't plan out properly. We did a commentary. We'll put a link somewhere, probably around there. You can go check out the commentary. And guess what? I even addressed this in the fact that I was just sort of in a mindset, which was, you know, Jake plays the main character, and whoever else plays somebody else. I ended up playing the friend. I ended up casting this guy as Arthur, and I'm pretty sure that him as Kevin and Jake as Arthur actually would have worked far better. Oh, here's a problem with the film. I actually wasn't wearing the leather jacket on the indoor take when I pull Mike and smack his head against the door. If you look real closely, I'm wearing my normal shirt and no jacket.
Well,
and then
maybe the character was getting hot and he felt like just taking off the jacket for this.
And then with the jacket on, I'm pretty sure I look pretty intimidating. Although one thing that I do wish I did is that my fluffy hair isn't very intimidating. So what I was planning on doing was wetting my hair, because the darker the color, and also it's like it splinters off in sort of like downward spikes, which I think look much closer to a killer. But again, I forgot about it. Too bad, so sad.
And something else to note, that this was the acting debut of our friend Hayden, who has been a grip and a boom person on our recent videos. Originally, we were going to put Vivian, who's playing Arya in the next episodes of Humanity's Edge, in here, but she couldn't make it, so we cast Hayden instead. I think his acting was actually surprisingly good, seeing how I don't think he's ever acted before this.
Yes, he was a surprisingly good actor. I expected for this film to actually be bogged down slightly by the acting capabilities of Hayden, but I was actually very surprised.
Sorry, Hayden.
Yes, I am very sorry for insulting something I didn't know about. I'm so prejudiced against non-actors, aren't I? In any case, I think that's the general gist of it. Now you know the technical side and the inspirational and emotional side of the creation of Watching Eyes. And before I sign off, for any of you thinking, hey, but you never talked about the creation of the script for Watching Eyes. What inspired you to write that? Nothing. I wanted to make a horror-esque film, and I ended up writing Watching Eyes. That's it. His might have been a bit more inspired by Halloween in its writing, but again, we went with mine, and mine was, I want to make something horror-esque. That is the complete and...
Although, I think at the end, would you say that you were a bit inspired by Scream with the whole two-killer concept at the end?
You could say, although that wasn't in my forethought. That wasn't up...
Maybe that was just
it.
rooting in his subconscious and burst out when he was writing the script.
Either way, that's pretty much all we did. So hopefully you enjoyed Watching Eyes. If you haven't watched it already, we pretty much just spoiled the heck out of it. In all likelihood, I have put some sort of link on the screen, or maybe I'll put it in the credits. In any case, thanks for watching.
And I hope we get our new material out and you enjoy it.
All right. We'll see you in the next 2 weeks. Probably.